Okay, what we are going to do now is demonstrate this interesting enhancement to the rules. Now, it should be said that the updates to Hex Command Gunpowder involve the probably better reality of the rifled musket than has been previously recorded or legislated. What we are doing here is moving away from the strictly smoothbore range aspect to the rifled musket range. And the reason for this is that the reality of the Civil War, especially using the rifled musket, is the ranges were significantly larger than with smoothbore muskets. A smoothbore musket might have units firing at each other in a stand-up fight at a very close range. This is an example. For instance, if this was colonial America or Napoleonics or something, the ranges exhibited by this example would be optimum musket range. Extremely close. Reason being that, I'll fix the river here. Reason being that the smoothbore musket simply didn't have the either rate of fire or the range involved for accurate casualties to be taken on an opponent. So this would be a typical smoothbore musket effective range. Moving further beyond would be less effective. And then moving to the maximum range would be least effective. This is what we pretty much are seeing in the existing Hex Command Gunpowder rules. That's pretty much the maximum range. If one hex, you can see here, is 100 yards, then we're talking about here 1, 2, 3, and 400 yards. That is extremely far for even a smoothbore musket. So even that is questionable as to whether or not it would be effective. They could do it, but they likely would not, because the amount of casualties being witnessed would be very small. It is in fact more likely that it would be 2 to 100 yards range, which is what this exhibits right here. So the rifled musket, being that 400 range maximum, just about 400 range, 400 yards. So this involves not just the extended range of the rifled musket, but a better way of recording the effects over time. So what we'll do is we'll demonstrate this in this quick little example, and you'll see that we've invented new markers for this concept. As you remember, the blue marker we were using represents units that are in melee. So when two units are engaged, as such, we use a blue marker to show that they are involved in melee in that hex facing, like this. The reason we do that is because if there was another unit, it needs to be signified to the players as to who exactly is meleeing who. In this particular case, it's kind of interesting too, because there's another unit involved. But this unit here, say, was in melee of that nature. These two units, these two hex side facings in melee with this unit. We'll enter this unit as another glitch in the matrix, just to say that, okay, these guys are meleeing, and now this hex side is occupied with a melee. This helps us remember just exactly what's going on. Okay, this anticipates players forgetting or it not being clear as to what exactly is going on. So let's take these away, and we'll begin our little experiment with these markers. So we will refer to these blue markers. Where was this guy at? Well, we'll put him here. Over here. Okay, it doesn't matter for this example. Okay, you will notice that on the back of the blue marker, it's white. It's blue on one side and white on the other. The reason for this is this white indicator at one time, and still does as a matter of fact, blue represents fired when units are not in melee. So this is an example here of a unit that has fired. We're marking it with the blue marker. Now, this new indicator, this new symbol, represents on the CNC die this symbol. We are using a star. It could be any symbol, but we're simply using a star. So this indicator represents that this item has been rolled. This symbol has been rolled. The other indicator that we're using is a red dot. The red dot represents code. Again, this is code and color. In other words, the code symbol plus the color. And this is just code, just red. Now, the other indicator that we're using, if I can get it, is the blue indicator. Okay, again, different from this one, but that's a blue indicator. That represents the face on the die of blue having been rolled. The way these markers will be used is that these three, one of these indicators will be used to place on the target when it has been fired at and no casualties have been created. Before I go any further, there is an alternate rule that we had put in the Hex Command Gunpowder rules, which we don't do, but just as easily could do. Instead of using all of these markers, we could simply say that whenever a target is fired upon and the target is missed, we need to represent some kind of incremental damage occurring, so we could just as well use a terrain effects indicator, the green indicator. Okay, we could just as well do that. And that's an option. It might, however, be a little less interesting, and we'll show that momentarily. So, what we'll do is we'll demonstrate the use of these new markers, and we'll demonstrate the use of just placing a fatigue when a firing has been missed. And we will hope to show what the difference is. Let's begin first showing the use of these new markers. This unit is going to be firing at this unit, and we'll count the range as usual. We'll take this hex as being the range here. So we are looking at, now bear in mind how we count here too, because that is yet another option that can be done here. Okay? Automatic, in other words, 100 yards or less, it's an automatic hit. Color, meaning blue, code, meaning red, and then the target itself is in the last hex, so C and C. Because we're using rifled muskets, we extend it by 1. It still looks, however, the same die roll, C and C, so star. So again, automatic, color, code, code and color. That's straight up. That involves no other modifiers. So in order to cause a hit on the target, a CNC has to be rolled. We rolled a blue. Therefore, in this new concept, you will put down a blue indicator on the target. Now, the intention here is that when this unit fires again, if it misses and rolls a blue, we will turn that into a hit. Okay, so let's try and fire back. This unit up here is going to receive fire from this unit down here, but this one is higher up, so it's technically in cover. So that pushes the range band to the impossible or the ineffective range. Automatic, color, code, code and color, and then because they're up one in cover, it goes to an impossible shot. No other modifiers are present here. So they can't shoot with any effect. Well, we can change that just for this example. Put a commander on it. Okay, so that brings it back down to code and color. So we'll roll the die, and we roll the blue. So we'll put another blue indicator down. There we go. We missed it, we rolled a blue. Let's just skip ahead and do some more combat. Let's say that we are firing once again. This unit will fire down here, same as before. It needs code and color. There's no other modifiers yet. Bear that in mind. And we rolled blue again. Well, we've already got a blue indicator here. And by the way, we've introduced this general. So blue turns into a hit. Now we got to check for that commander because he's there. And he didn't get hit. All right, so this unit has now got a red hit indicator on it. Let's fire back. Again, same before. This does not happen. It does not take into effect right now. It's simultaneous firing. So, code and color. And he didn't get it. Once again, remember, this we use for Hex Command Mechanized is a system hit. So he didn't get it. But he did roll blue. See, it's a blue color. Just ignore the symbol on there. Blue color, and there's a blue right there. So this as well turns into a hit. There we are. It's representing sustained combat fire. Now remember, this is long range. So over a period of time, enough casualties have been caused that is now starting to take a toll. Even though, as you know, this unit is at a disadvantage firing uphill, it has rolled lucky enough. In other words, it has just the luck enough to have caused a hit. It rolled the same thing as before, blue. And it has a general present. So over time, it's just as good as this unit up here, mainly because of the presence of the commander and a good die roll. So there is, of course, some luck involved. Let's try it with the opposite system. No, not the opposite, but the other system. The other system is not using all these new markers, which we believe is a more accurate representation, and simply use, every time a unit fires, a TE indicator, which is green. So the first roll, again, CNC needed, and it got it. So there we go. We'll put the hit down and check for the commander, and we didn't get it. Okay, so we got a hit right away. Now, this unit's going to fire back. It needs, as we said before, code and color to score a hit. And it missed. This time we're not going to be putting that blue indicator down. We're just going to put a TE hit down. So we'll put the terrain indicator hit, which represents fatigue. So there we are. Now, it doesn't matter what is going to be rolled. If the miss occurs, this will turn into a red hit. That's the difference. It doesn't even matter. Okay? That's why it could be done this way as well as the other way, but this way is a little less accurate because it represents not enough time. So let's jump ahead. We'll fire back. Rolled a red. We needed CNC, and we missed. Actually, we needed a code. We better count this up. With this red hit on the unit, it fires again. Automatic color code, code and color, but it goes to impossible because of the hit. And then impossible again because of the cover. Even the general doesn't even make it possible. Again, automatic color code, code and color, uphill goes impossible. Presence of the commander brings it down to CNC, which is possible, but the red hit makes it impossible again, so it can't fire, it needs to get closer. All right, so let's assume we'll get closer, just so we carry on the demonstration. Okay, now we're going to roll, and he needs CNC, right? Automatic color code, code and color because he's up a hill, and then the red makes it impossible. But the general is present, brings it down again to code and color, so we need a code and color die roll, and we don't get it. But because we're using this system, this means because we miss, we get a hit. So we put the red indicator down. So you see, there is a slight difference. This would be faster just by using this indicator to represent when something is missed. Okay, now remember, these are also put down when units encounter obstacles and so on. So this guy could have been up there with a fatigue indicator already on him from doing something like going over fences and so on, going up a hill through a forest and such. So he could have a TE hit already on him. So him firing here, he could have missed and caused another TE hit to occur. Well, we flipped this over and there we got 2 hits on him. 2 TE hits have now been scored. But because if we use the miss concept, if he misses again, well, ignore that. He misses again, then this becomes a hit automatically. Okay? That's how that's going to happen. Because we missed, but it turns over to a hit because it was adding another fatigue, turns that to a hit. So you see, even that is a little bit different, isn't it? Because generally, when units encounter obstacles, they have one obstacle causes the first TE, second obstacle causes the second TE, and so on. And then the third one becomes a hit. But in this case, we had 2 on there, Okay, we miss the firing, so we add a TE, well, that becomes a hit. So you might say, as a matter of fact, it would be accurate, but we'll just ignore that for now. This should actually be one hit with a TE on it. Okay, when you do the math, that's what it really should be. But because this was already at 2 and he missed the target, we just put a red down and leave that at 2? No, well, we don't know, right? Because one of those was already there from the terrain effects, and one was there from the missed combat. So you see, there is a little bit of a discrepancy. There could be some confusion. The concept works, but it could be kind of fudgy. Okay, it could be kind of odd. That's why we came up with the system of whatever it is that you roll that missed when you hit combat, whatever it is you roll again, then you will get the hit. And that's exactly all we're demonstrating here, how this works. Move on to part 2 of this discussion. Part 2 of this discussion is the concept of prolonging the range of the rifled musket even further, but not necessarily the way you think. Right now, automatic is the first, followed by color, code, and then code and color. And then the rifled musket makes it one more, so code and color again. What we're going to do, though, is because of the rifled musket, we are going to extend the automatic range to 2 hexes. So automatic, color, code, and then code and color. We are rifled musket. Another hex for code and color. We've now extended the range by 1 hex. Okay? So there again, you can see there are some flavors you can do in the rules. You don't have to do it exactly the way we're doing it, but you have the option of trying to fudge this thing and get these realities the way you think they should be. Should a rifled musket have a really close range of 200 yards, this hex and this one, for an automatic hit? And then go the rest of the counting, which would be, you know, color, code, code and color, and then the last hex would be code and color again? Or is it enough to just say automatic, color, code, and then code and color and stop right there? Well, that doesn't really give us the extended range, does it? Yes, it does, because this would be automatic, color, code and color, and then code and color again. So this, by making the 2 hexes closest to the unit automatic, we've extended it by 1 hex. The range has gone out to now 500 yards. Automatic, color, code and color, and then code and color again. That's 5 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 600 yards. Well, that is pretty far. Okay? So that is an option. If you believe that that is more accurate, then feel free to go ahead and introduce that into the game, and you can do it. So that's basically what we're trying to show. Now, artillery is the other issue, because we had noticed that artillery seems to have not a very long range, does it? We use the example back there with that artillery piece. You can't see it from the other camera up there. But from our perspective here, there's a cannon back there, and it's going to fire. How far can it go? Okay, well, let's take, as a matter of fact, clear these guys out of the way. All right, let's put this cannon up here. Let's put him right there. Okay, so this cannon, it's a large gun, large battery. It's a 6-gun battery, regardless. Let's do the traditional, let's do what's already on paper, okay? Every 2 hexes is a range band when counting artillery. So this would be automatic, color, automatic, color, code, code and color. So that would be the maximum range for that gun back there. That's it. If it was rifled, it would get another range band, so it would be 1, 2 more. Okay, so back here. So that gun, that 6-gun battery back there would be firing from here all the way over here. So from here all the way over to here. Okay. Let's imagine, if you will, that this is not a good representation of history either. Because that is just not far enough, is it? It looks like it's not far enough, even for miniatures and 15mm and such. Probably could be a little bit longer. If we were to go to 3 hexes that might be more accurate. But again, it's going to introduce some potential issues. You can experiment, but you can imagine what they are. If we look in the distance back there, from this camera's point of view, we can count the hexes, and I'll use a dice. And we'll show how far. That's a rifle battery, so it gets an extended range, and we'll show how far. And remember, this is a 5-foot table, so 5 feet by 6 feet. Okay? Actually, my mistake. This is 4 feet. This table here is 4 feet by 5 feet. So let's count this guy using the 3 hex band, see how far it goes. We'll use a dice. And my measuring stick. Okay, so there he is. Let's count. Automatic, color, code and color. Extended rifle range would bring another band. 3. So that gun back there would be firing all the way to here. And that looks a little more realistic, but that's pretty far. Okay, and this is all based on reports. Okay, all based on order of battle, the various battle reports and so on, that range might actually be a little more accurate. Okay, you need to decide for yourself if you think that's correct, because that's pretty far. And to get a red hit at that range, I mean, enough casualties caused by firing at maximum range, that's pushing it. We had introduced the idea that at maximum range, even without this 3 hex band, at maximum range, the most you could get is a fatigue indicator, or a TE hit. Because we just felt that putting a red hit down on something that's that far away seems a little extreme. It may not seem likely because it's still a 1 in 6 chance. At that range, you need a CNC die roll to get a hit. So even when we do the counting, even when we do the die rolling, that doesn't come up very often. You could be lucky and have those come up, but it doesn't happen very often. If we were to use the mist indicators, things change. So there's 2. Again, you can change the range band to 3 hexes instead of 2 hexes. That's one option, and leave the system go without these new markers. Or you can use the new markers, leave the short system, and try it that way. Or do both. It's entirely up to you, or it might be on the fact these guys have better training. It's all up to you. These options exist for you to decide. We like them all. It just depends. Depends on the battlefield, depends on what the truce might be. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances. So at extreme range, we need a CNC without an officer present. Although there is one down there. Well, we need a CNC without an officer present to cause a hit down here. Right there, actually. So let's roll. Well, we got a commander present, so we actually need code. What did we roll? We rolled color, which is blue. So let's put a blue indicator down. Well, that's as far as we can go, so we'll put it there. So that's the blue indicator. Let's roll again. So we need, even with the officer present, we need a CNC to cause a hit, and we roll blue again. Well, that's odd. Well, there it is right there. So, if there was a target, not just rocks, we'd cause a hit. So you see, that wraps up the example, the demonstration, that over a period of time, even though that guy's been missing, he actually does cause some damage. And this will make people happy like me that have horrible die rolls. I mean, consistently, it's ridiculous. You miss all day. Well, now you have a chance. And that's what we're thinking. So I guess before we cut off, maybe let's look at skirmishers. Same thing. We have said that as soon as skirmisher units, however, as soon as they suffer a red hit from combat, they get removed. So you pull them up off the table. Up until then, they just cause TE hits. These are mosquitoes. They're irritating little guys that provide a little front out there. Doesn't cost you anything, except you don't have that many of them. And that folds well into the history where we would hear of lines of skirmishers duking it out and irritating the heck out of each other until one eventually, gave up and said, well, nothing more we can do here. Let's call up the rest of the guys, and the rest of the army comes up and does something else. But that's essentially the idea with skirmishers. They're not super powerful, they're just there and they're irritating, and they're good against artillery crews, because when you shoot skirmishers, the most damage you can cause on them is TE hits. You can just keep them exhausted enough until eventually you cause a red hit of casualties that accumulated and they get picked up from the game table. They become ineffective. So there we are. That's exactly, technically what we're trying to do.